So while everybody's coming in and getting settled, just want to take a minute and reintroduce myself. I'm Thornton, and there's a lot of things that you all could be doing this evening. So thank you for participating in another one of our Thank Me Later sessions. Benefits is our theme for November. I have to admit, not that I don't love all the other months, but this is absolutely one of my favorite topics of all. And so I'm grateful that you all are here, and thank you for engaging with us in the Thank Me Later community and following us on social media. It means so much to us. And I want to take a second, make sure that you know our Thank Me Later team. So that is Tiana and Ani and Lauren. Say hey, everybody. So these are all the folks who are in the background. So when you see us, if you're within the Thank Me Later community, you see us on social media, this is the group of people who are making this all happen. So we have the most amazing team in the whole wide world. I get compliments on them all the time. Thank you all so much for all your hard work. And I'm just excited today because not only are we here to talk about benefits, I know most of y'all are in the middle of open enrollment, Lord. We are too at our company as well. But I am excited because of our subject matter expert, Leslie Ferguson, who is here with us this evening. So I wanted to be a little official, just to share a little bit about Leslie Ferguson, who's the director and relationship manager on the Voluntary Benefits Integrated Solutions team. Leslie, that's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. We say BBIZ for short.
BBIZ. Okay, so Leslie's responsibilities include designing and implementing voluntary benefits programs. That's both in-house and external platforms, sales support, and maintaining strong carrier partnership relationships, and to stay up to date on all the different market trends. So Leslie has over 17 years of benefits experience. So for those of us who, we all have benefits, I think we have no idea all the work that comes into bringing all this to life for us at our companies, big and small. So Leslie is one of the people in the background that's making that happen for companies like mine, companies like yours. So Leslie, we are so grateful that you're here.
Thank you so much.
We're excited, girl, and I have to tell you, you're looking just as fly and amazing. I just had to say that.
I mean, you came and asked me to say something to the people, so I came and say something to the people today.
I'm so not mad at you. Other thing too is I am actually out of the country. I'm in vacation in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So my internet is not the best. So I might be a little delay. So team, Thank Me Later, and Team Leslie, please just step in when my internet is crazy, because we want to make sure that people get exactly what they came here for today. So Leslie, before I kick it off to you, as I was sharing this with y'all as we were getting ready to get on this call, so my oldest son, Trevor, who is 31, and I'm not exaggerating, my son has called me not one, not two, not three, he has called me 4 times today because he's in open enrollment. 4 times asking me 1,000 questions. Mom, what should I do about this? Should I pick this policy? And he's trying to talk to me on the phone. I'm like, dude, we need to do some sort of Zoom Teams call. He's trying to FaceTime me, show me his screen, trying to rush through the process. I'm like, your approach is all wrong. It is all wrong. So Leslie, I thought about you all day because my son has been blowing me up all day today. So I want to, I'm like, he must know I was talking to Leslie today about open enrollment and benefits, but the benefits are mine, our branding theme song for today. So Leslie, I want you to get us kicked off. And ladies, I hope y'all ready to, whether you're watching this live with us now, you're gonna watch this later, please make sure that you feel open to ask any questions. She's going to introduce us to some amazing interactive technology. Hope you have your cell phones because you're going to need them. You're going to need your cell phone too. And again, thank you all. And Leslie, my friend, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Janai. That was such an amazing intro. I hope I do you well through this presentation. You're a tough act to follow. broadcast host and all that. I hope I, say all this right. Good afternoon, ladies. Leslie Ferguson. I'm so excited to be here today. I am going to attempt to make what could be a boring topic as engaging as possible, right? And engage you during this conversation. We want this to be just that, a conversation. So please ask questions. We'll make sure to field those. But what we're going to do first is start off with a bit of an icebreaker. So we're going to start, get your cell phones out. It's going to require some interaction. And we are going to put up on the screen a Menti question. So if you go to your phones, go to menti.com, use that code that's at the top of the screen and answer the question. What's something exciting that happened to you in the last year? So I'm going to participate as well. So I'm going to go here. Let's see. All right, so let's see if we get everything going.
And if anybody can't get in, please say something, because I promise you, you're going to take the time to log in.
Yeah.
You're going to want to use it for the session. And I promise you, y'all going to take this back to your jobs too.
Oh, we got new jobs. Congratulations. So you had 2 times you had to think about your benefits this year. Upon hire and then going into the open enrollment time frame. Anyone else? And if you can't get into the Menti, working from home, that is exciting. I'm a mother of 3 children. Working from home is one of my lovely benefits of creating work-life balance. I can throw a load of clothes in the wash machine and run down and get on a conference call. It's definitely amazing. Working on your master's. Congratulations on that. That's amazing. And this exercise is really getting us to think about what things that could have happened to us in this past year that we should keep top of mind as we're going through assessing what we should be thinking about for our benefits. Okay, so some people said new job, we got an anniversary, we've got working from home. You'd be surprised, a lot of those things might play into your benefit decisions. Okay, child graduated. All right, congratulations. I'm on the front end. My children are small, so I can't wait to the graduation day. See, that too, that could be a change, in your coverages. So Tiana, we can go ahead and dive into making sure you assess your life when you're choosing your benefits. So what are some of the things you need to be thinking about? If you want to go to the next slide, Tiana. We are going to first kind of lay a baseline for us, just to make sure when I start using lingo or terminology that we're all working with the same understanding. What we have here is a terms, kind of a benefits glossary. You'll be able to have this to click on later, have it in your back pocket. You can even have it out as you're doing your benefits. But what we're going to flip to is a quick small video that just runs through the baseline level of understanding with benefits. So we're going to transition to that here quickly and watch that together. So while Tiana's teeing that up, one of the concepts that will be covered in the video are what are HMOs, PPOs, out of office, out of network, in network, just a lot of terminology you will run across as you're talking or walking through your benefits.
And I'm glad that you're starting with that, Leslie, because some of us, we think we know what these terms mean, but I don't know, even if we know, it's great to have a little refresher here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do need some volume,
I was
Tiana.
gonna say, should it be sound?
Yeah, you need to come off mute to
Match
optimize
for
your
you.
volume.
Sorry.
Shopping for health insurance is a big decision, but asking the right questions can make it a lot easier. When it comes to health coverage, everyone has different needs and preferences. Understanding the features of a health plan can help you pick the right match for you. Let's start with the kind of plan you want. Is it important for you to see doctors out of network or without referrals? If so, you may want to look into PPO plans. If it's not a top priority, then you may want an HMO. You'll pick a primary care physician to coordinate your care and get a network of providers to choose from. Trying to save money? Opt for a plan with a higher deductible that can be used with a health savings account to save tax-free dollars for qualified medical expenses. Or look for a plan with a tiered network. You'll save when you visit certain doctors and hospitals. This works best if your providers are already in the lowest cost tier, or if you don't mind switching. Once you figure out a plan type, you're halfway there. Now you just have to figure out the best balance of cost and coverage. There are two main types of cost: premium and out-of-pocket. Your premium is the monthly fee you pay to become a member of a health insurance plan. When you need health care, your health insurer will pay a portion of your covered health care costs, and you'll pay the rest. That's the out-of-pocket cost. This is where the balance comes in. Think about it this way. You pay your premium regardless of whether you use any service, but you only pay your out-of-pocket costs when you receive care. So if you see a lot of doctors, check the plan's out-of-pocket costs and make sure it's an amount you're comfortable with. If not, consider a plan with a higher premium so that the insurer covers a higher portion of the services you're likely to use. Find out if your plan has a deductible. This is a dollar amount you have to pay for services before your insurer starts to pay a portion of the costs. If you reach your deductible and still need more care, you and your health insurer will share costs until you reach your out-of-pocket maximum. If you reach your out-of-pocket maximum, then your health insurer will pay for all of your covered services for the remainder of the plan year. Also, look into what services apply towards the deductible and whether it covers both medical benefits and prescription drugs. Most health insurance plans include prescription drug coverage. So if you use a lot of medications, make sure those drugs are covered. Also check if the pharmacy you use is in network and whether the plan has any special provisions like a mandatory generic program. And if you need specialty pharmacy drugs, look into how your plan covers them. Don't forget, you can save on prescription drugs by taking advantage of generic drugs and mail order service. Questions about making your health insurance decision? We can help. We have licensed agents who are always happy to help you find the best plan for you. Call 1-888-475-6206 or visit ibx.com for more information.
All right. Thank you, Tina. We can flip back to our slides. So that just was a very quick run through of all the terms you'll see swirling in your enrollment flow. So let's take another quick poll. Get your phones back out and let's answer this question together. It should refresh. Who do you most likely ask for advice regarding your benefits? Go to mentee.com, enter the code at the top, and we'll see where people land. Okay, we got some ask parents, coworkers, the internet, a lot of Googling going on. That's good. Okay, heavy on the internet. That's good. Self-starters, researching your own stuff. That's good. Nobody's asking their friends. They don't have no friends and benefits. I can honestly say that it's not a lot of people that look like me in the benefits world. So it can get a little scarce. Okay. So the good news is that you can reach out. The question is, are you getting the correct information? Are you getting what you need to know to move forward? So that's good. Reaching out is great. Making sure you have credible sources is key. So Tiana, if you want to go to the next slide, we can kind of delve into, all right, so you've asked your questions. What do you want to make sure you check out that you typically don't? And I want to talk to you about our most underutilized benefits. So the first one I'm going to discuss is the Employee Assistance Program, EAP. Now, this program has now bubbled up to the top coming through the pandemic, right? Mental health being a pivotal attention getter for our employers to ensure they're asking us to bring our whole self to work, but your whole self isn't all put together. So we want to make sure you're utilizing your EAP program. It is 100% paid for by the employer, so nothing out of pocket. You get an allotment. So look at your benefits. Some allotments are 3, some are 5, some are 6, depending upon what your employer signed up for. But please, please, please utilize that benefit. The next one is the healthcare savings account. And I know Janai knows so intimately, the healthcare savings account is one of those programs that has what we call a triple tax advantage. The contributions are made tax-free, are pre-taxed. The earnings are tax-free. And if you use the funds for a qualified medical expense, the withdrawal is also tax-free. So the healthcare savings account is an account that is married with your high deductible health plan. So as opposed to a flexible spending account with a regular program like a PPO or HMO, the HSA account is actually an investment account that you keep even when you leave your company. It is your own account. And once you pass the $1,000 threshold, that account is now being invested for you. So it's an investment vehicle working as you're putting dollars in. And guess what? Your company is also contributing dollars into this account. So please, please, please use your HSA account to its fullest. I mean, we're talking about your over-the-counter drugs, the Tylenol, all the medical expenses you can think of. The third underutilized benefit is your 401k. It amazes me how many people still are not participating in their company's 401k. You are leaving money on the table. You know, we constantly talk about enhancing your life, enhancing your benefits, but this is something that's going to enhance your retirement. You always want to contribute up to the company's match. I personally don't go over that. I would use those funds in my own investment strategy, but you absolutely want to get those dollars. And then be clear on when you invest, because I've seen too many people leave their job and not be vested and then leave that money on the table. And then the last one, and it's kind of an emerging space, is voluntary benefits. Voluntary benefits, which is different from your core benefits. Your core benefits are medical, dental, vision. Voluntary benefits kind of sits right up under that and supplements that benefit. So you got your critical illness, accident, hospital indemnity. You probably have seen this from the Aflac commercials. Especially with SEC football, you got Nick Saban, now you got Deion Sanders. They really trying to get your attention on these voluntary benefits, but they are helpful. Those are dollars that go directly to you in your pocket to pay for things that are expenses associated with a medical occurrence, but not covered by your medical coverage. For instance, if you have a baby, while the hospital stay is going to be covered by your medical coverage, you flying in your mom to help you with said baby, or any child care that you need for other children you may have. Hospital indemnity coverage gives you dollars right in your pocket that you can use however you want to. Identity protection. We have to be monitoring our identity. Talk about building up your wealth and then having somebody come in and snatch it. You need to have something working while you're sleeping, looking at the dark web, looking at things. Because at this point, it's not really if anymore. We've seen all the emails. Our data has been compromised. but you want to get ahead of it. You want to be alerted if someone's opened an account in your name or somebody has accessed your social media, things of that nature. So identity protection program will help you do that. And then a legal program, help you with speeding tickets, will writing. I know Janai and the community have talked about estate planning. If you don't have access to an attorney, a legal program can give you that access. So these are the 4 things that I feel are the most underutilized benefits. So I'm going to take a pause and see if there's any questions. Feel free to add any questions in the chat. But Tiana, you can go ahead and move on to our next slide. Okay, so we talked about underutilized benefits. We talked about assessing your life. Now, how should you approach your open enrollment? The first thing you want to do is opposite of what Janai's son did, is wait to the last minute. You want to start early. You want to pick early, set yourself up for success so you can have time to think through all the things we were talking about. Don't wait to the last minute. Know your enrollment date and put reminders to say, hey, you got 3 days left, 2 days left. Don't let that time slip away. And next, you want to assess your life. Are you planning to expand your family? If so, you got to be thinking about what are some coverages I might need in the near future. Do you have active children? If you're like me, ER visits are things you don't want, but they happen. You can include accident insurance to help you with a broken bone or things of that nature. So really assess where you are in your life. Do you need long-term care? If you're older, if you're 55 and older, you should be thinking about long-term care insurance. But if you're 32, 35, that might not be on your horizon. So you could be making sure you're not overinsured. You know, if you're like me, about 30, I think I was looking at benefits like, oh, wait, I saw John Q, so I'm not going to get that HMO. But when they got to the hospital in John Q, that baby couldn't be seen. So we want to make sure, though, that we are approaching our benefits, not from any stigmas, but from knowledge. Third, you want to consider your costs. You have to look at your premiums, which we learned in the video is what you pay every paycheck towards your benefits, and your out-of-pocket costs. That's that cost you're going to have to pay once you're seen by that care provider. Do you have any chronic illnesses? Like, are you seeing the doctor on a frequent basis? And do you have expensive prescriptions? You've got to look at that formulary list to ensure that your prescriptions are on there. And if they're not, you can have a conversation with your care provider to say, hey, is there a like kind prescription that is on this list? Or you can prepare for what you may have to pay for out of pocket. And lastly, HSAs, FSAs, those are one of those things that you have to make an active decision every year. Those contributions do not roll over. You cannot phone it in. And you want to make sure you know what the limits are. So flexible spending account, you will use with your PPO or your HMO plan. Your healthcare limit is $2,850, and your dependent care is $5,000. That dependent care pays for daycare, licensed child care providers. Your HSA, that investment account we talked about that is highly underutilized, individual limit went up to $3,150, and your family limit went up to $6,300, which is important to know because you want to assess, okay, this past year, how much did I spend going to the doctor? How much did I spend on prescriptions and over-the-counter drugs? You want to take that number in account when you plan for the following year. So I'm going to take a pause. I saw a question pop up in the chat.
I have one too.
Sure.
It was my question. So you know what I never thought about? Are there pre-existing conditions or any kind of restrictions for voluntary benefits? So one thing, like I just think about a strategy. If I were having a kid and that next year, I probably would have gotten like the hospital indemnity plan, but that's something I never thought about. I got it for the year, dropped it the next year. So I'm just curious. So like say you had gotten an accident the year before and you had to revisit the accident, go back to the hospital or the next year. Are you covered or is that excluded?
Good question. So there's a yes and no. So the critical illness, I'm gonna take it in pieces. There is a pre-existing condition clause. The diagnosis will need to happen after the effective date of coverage. Now, your hospital indemnity, your accident, no pre-ex. That is just at the time you go to the hospital. If it's after you have the coverage, you get the payout. If you broke a bone, you'll get the payout. So there really is no pre-existing. And you hit on you kind of gave away my little teaser later in my presentation. But if you are planning to expand your life, hospital indemnity is absolutely the program you need to be enrolling into because you're guaranteed to go to the hospital if that is your birthing plan. If the birthing plan includes a hospital, you absolutely should have hospital indemnity. So great question. Janai, you had a question.
I did. Leslie, I don't understand when you can use your FSA medical versus your HSA.
Sure.
Is it interchangeable or one has one job and one has another job?
Great question, Janai. When you have a high deductible health plan, that is when you're going to use your healthcare spending account, that HSA. And your program will automatically drop you down to what's called a limited FSA. So it drastically reduces what you can use those funds for. So I wouldn't even advise enrolling into that. There's so many limitations. Your FSA comes into play when you are enrolled into a PPO or an HMO, one of your traditional medical programs. That's when that FSA comes into play. You would never have a full FSA and an HSA at the same time because it's married to the type of medical program that you've enrolled into.
So I'm going to repeat what I think I heard you say. So
Sure.
If I have a high deductible medical plan,
Yes.
then I may want to consider the HSA. That's when that comes into play.
Absolutely.
Okay. So they go together.
They go together. They are married.
Okay.
Yes. You got it. Did I see another question that was in the chat? Let's see. Oh, that was your question, Oni. Okay, great.
I have one more question.
Okay, let's
It's open enrollment. Listen, I'm scheming. So are there any other voluntary plans for like adult orthodontics or any of those kind of that support? Dental is one of them real slim, sketchy plans. They really don't cover nothing.
They don't really cover anything.
Right. And I'm like at a point now, I would like to get Invisalign.
Okay.
And so I have my FSA.
So the orthodontic work you're talking about is for an adult because they'll cover it for children without question.
Yeah, it's the adult. Like how do you work that adult side in where you're not paying all out the pocket?
Honestly, you're going to pay all out the pocket because they've kind of said, hey, you should have got your braces when you was 13. They're kind of approaching it that way. But what you do want to do, if you're planning to have the more extensive dental care, you would want to opt for the higher coverage. So typically you'll have two options for your dental program. You'll have a basic and then you'll have a preferred. That preferred is going to cost more in premium, but cover more percentage-wise. So, and then when you get your Invisalign and you do open enrollment again, drop that thing back on down to the basic because you need to go ahead and get your fillings. You need to do everything in that year when you have that higher tier dental plan.
And I just keep the higher tier because my kids are young like yours. And
Yes.
what I'm seeing with dental with them is a whole nother, it's upsetting. So that's another story for another day, but I keep the higher plan. But I was just curious if there was any other things that I wasn't considering.
Well, you want to consider, do you have a high deductible health plan? Because your HSA, okay, but your FSA funds could be used towards your dental work.
And that's the plan, but my husband looked at me sideways because he was like, so you're going to use the whole FSA on your Invisalign? And that's exactly what his words were.
Well,
and I was like,
I'm gonna let you handle your marital conversation I'm just saying.
Offended. I was like, yes, like, really? Is that a question? He's like, so we're not gonna have I was like,
No.
Right.
It's the same money. I mean, does he just want to see different line items on the money? Because
Right.
you know.
But Ani, that's very funny what you're saying. Very true. But let me tell you what I appreciate about what you're saying, though, is how important it is for us to be mindful of what we need to get done, have that plan. And also, if we do have a spouse, that we're having a conversation about that, though.
Absolutely, Janine.
Yeah, because it's easy just to kind of like, oh, I'm going to bust a couple of moves versus being very intense. Obviously, we're talking about planned things. We're not talking about emergencies. And sorry, my lighting is so bad where I am. But that's really important because I don't think I've ever had a conversation with my husband when it comes to benefits. I just decide. It's kind of my job. And I'm not engaging him at all. Not at all. So now I need to kind of step back and take a different approach as it relates to him. And he doesn't even think he has anything to do with it. It's just like it falls under my category, like she's going to handle that.
Yeah. And if you want to think about, I'm going to go on the side of your husband for a second. If you want to think about making sure he has the HSA card or the FSA card with him for those well baby visits or the child visits, and he knows exactly how he's going to pay every time he goes, then yeah, you want to make sure he has funds over there to do that. That's almost like, hey, we talked about this, how we're going to do it. You don't want him to get there, be like, my wife told me to use this card, and they tell you is nothing on there. So that is a consideration in just making sure you guys are on the same page with how those funds are being used. But I'm no licensed marriage counselor. You work on that. No. Okay. Any other questions? All right, Tiana, we could jump back into the presentation. Thank you for those great questions. All right. So we're ready to get back on our Menti. Let's get our phones back out. Go to menti.com and use that code at the top to answer our next question. Do you know what to do if you miss open enrollment? Let's see. No, yep. Yeah, most people don't. The first answer is don't miss it. Let's not do that. But of course, there are things you can do if you happen to miss the open enrollment. I mean, if you miss open enrollment, your head's been in the sand somewhere because they send out so many communications, they email reminders. Okay, but let's say you missed it because life happens. We have husbands, children, jobs, businesses, life can happen and get away from us. So we do have some options at our disposal. The first thing you can do is send a request for an exception or appeal to your HR benefits department. A lot of times they cook in what they call a grace period or a silent period, and you don't know about it because it's called silent because they don't want you to know about it. But this allows for those chances like, oh my gosh, I was on leave, I was in the hospital, whatever the reason why you don't have the opportunity to go in within that window, you can provide your rationale, your reason, and typically they would grant you an exception and send you an email and say, hey, we opened up your window for today. Please go on and complete your enrollment. Or they'll ask you to call, depending upon the infrastructure that your company has set up. There is an option that you can ask for. But let me remind you, or let me give you word of caution. You can't say you forgot and it was like a month ago. Like, you forgot, kind of be like within a week or so before of the enrollment ending. So you can't say in December, oh man, I thought I was supposed to do something. They're gonna be like, yeah, you thought right, and it's over, and we'll see you next year. Now, let's say you missed it, you didn't get the exception. there could be a life event that you have throughout the year that'll necessitate a time for enrollment. So if you have loss of healthcare coverage, you get married, you get divorced, you have a birth or adoption, or there's an unfortunate death in your family under the covered dependents, that's called a qualified life event. That is an opportunity for you to jump back in and make the necessary changes according to that event in your life. The third one, and when I say third, it's like farthest down the line third. Like, I hope you never really do this third, but I'm going to give it to you as a nugget. There are some plans out in the open market you can get. There's some fixed indemnity plans. There's some short-term plans that if you know you need to go within a period of time, that you can have some coverage. But these plans are so expensive. And I mean, so expensive. It's literally you going to Blue Cross Blue Shield, knocking on the door and asking for some coverage. They're going to be like, okay, you can give me all of your $300, $400 a month for said coverage. But it's available. If you have some catastrophic thing or something big that's coming up, that $400 is going to be cheaper than a $50 hospital bill, but not anything I would recommend owning.
Listen, so I have a question about that. And it's so funny you said that. When I first started working at my current job, the company was behind on, not the company I worked for, but like Blue Cross Humana was behind on submitting the application process. So they were saying, oh, we can backdate it, but I had to get through the process and they were just behind. Like Blue Cross Blue Shield was just behind and I had to live with that. In those kind of situations, I went ahead and bought the short term because I am paranoid like that. But would you recommend a person to do that? Or do they just pray and wish that, in 3 months, if they had to go, that they're going to be able to, that the insurance company is going to come back and backdate it and it's not a big deal? Like, what would have been the best? I didn't have anybody to ask. I was just scared, I think. And so that's what I did. But I am curious, like, do you have a recommendation in those kind of cases?
So let me make sure I hear your question correctly. You were leaving somewhere and starting new coverage?
I left the old job. I had like 1 month I did it where I was going to have 1 month left with the old company.
Okay.
And then when it was time for me when I was eligible for the new company, the new company's provider was behind on applications.
Okay.
That's on the process of, and I had completed all my paperwork, but they're like, we're just, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're just behind. And, we'll get it processed. And even how long it takes, we'll backdate it to when you were eligible. But I guess my biggest concern is I had a family. And I'm like, what happens if something were to happen in that time span?
Yeah. And
even though on paper I don't have coverage, I will at some point. Would you have recommended a plan like that? Or would you have just said it would be fine, you would go to the doctor, they would eventually cover it and not to worry about it? Like, is there a recommendation in that kind of case?
I would have waited. The thing about health benefits is there's always a long runway. You got a long run. And even if you had the benefits, you got a bill, you can call them and say, I'm gonna pay you $5 for the next week. And they gonna set up a payment plan for you for 10 years. Like, they'll work with you. Like, the benefit, the carriers, they're not in the business of making life hard for you, although it feels like it. But once you knew you were getting the coverage, it wasn't that you weren't going to, you just didn't have it in the time in which you would have been comfortable. I would have waited because you paid for double coverage.
Pretty much.
During that time. So I would have waited in that instance. And then it would have backdated and all the claims would have been resubmitted.
That's good to know. Thank you for sharing.
No, that's great to know. Because like you, Ani, I would have been paranoid thinking I would have been uninsured for sure.
And you know how they look at you crazy. They be like, oh, you don't have coverage.
Yeah. Well, but you know what, Leslie, with Ani saying that, the health insurance companies in particular, they kind of feel like the man in a way.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're on the same team working together. You feel like they're against you, like you're not in partnership. So you're doing everything you can to kind of cover your butt versus, oh, they actually care about me.
Yeah, and you're actually paying them. You're a paid service.
Right, that's true.
Absolutely. As long as you're having appropriate conversations, you're staying in communication with your provider and letting them know, those types of conversations should go well. They understand, they've seen all those situations before. Your situation isn't the first time something like that has happened, and they would have been able to work with you. You're welcome. Any other questions? I saw something in the chat. Let's see. Oh, no, it's not so sad. You can actually ask for grace. Isn't that something? Grace is available for all of us.
So Leslie, and this might be just slightly off topic. So for those of us who are either we work part-time or our employer does not offer benefits,
Yeah.
where do you suggest that those people go?
The marketplace.
So just to
Hands down.
healthcare.gov.
Yes, I say that because you can qualify for subsidy towards your premium. So that's where I will go. Because the marketplace is designed to give you kind of that group coverage feel. So you're not paying off the street prices for your coverage. So I absolutely, hands down, say go to the marketplace for sure.
And for those of you, again, marketplace is healthcare.gov, healthcare.gov. So whether that's you have a child that's over 26 that's recently gotten kicked off of your insurance, you have a relative that works part-time, they are in open enrollment now. I think through December 15th,
it actually was extended to January 15th this year. They got an additional extension. Yeah, but typically it is December 15th.
Okay, so please push your family and friends over there because we do not want them to be uninsured. And don't just assume that the policies are going to cost too much. Get on the marketplace and see what they cost first. And it's better to have some coverage than no coverage at all.
Okay, so the question from Valerie. Hey, Valerie. I have VA medical benefits and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Am I overcovered? Should I get AFLAC? Okay, let me ask a couple questions. So Valerie, I don't see you want to come on video if you're able to. So Valerie, the AFLAC coverage, what would you be looking to obtain through AFLAC? My initial answer is you sound like you have a lot of coverage, but I don't know what are you mining the gap for the AFLAC coverage? That's what I want to ask, so I can appropriately answer your question. Okay, let's see. Well, while Valerie's coming back with that, we got another question from Marlena. I have had a marketplace health insurance from day one when it started because I've always been a contractor, self-employed. My coverage has never been over $50 a month. And right now is less than $20. So yes, due to receiving, thank you for that testimony, Marlena. Absolutely. That marketplace is going to be a lot cheaper than you think. And they, Obamacare is what they call it, but it's the marketplace. So thank you for that. So back to Valerie's question, it appears on the surface that you have a lot of coverage. So you want to make sure to compare those programs and see if there's anything one has that the other one doesn't, that you're overlapping. But the VA, from my understanding, covers the whole kit and caboodle. But my question just would be, what are you getting those extra benefits to cover? Okay. All right, Tiana, you want to jump back into our presentation? We'll keep rocking and rolling. These are great questions. I love the dialogue. Oh, yeah, that last one. The last thing is, you might have to wait till next year. If you miss open enrollment, you miss all the flyers in your mailbox, you miss all the email prompts to remind you open enrollment's here, open enrollment's coming, you might end up having to wait till next year. And you do not want to do that, because sometimes your coverage rolls over and sometimes it doesn't. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, that moment is now. So sometimes your company will give you an active enrollment or a passive enrollment. An active enrollment, you must make changes or you risk not having any coverage the following year. They're basically saying, hey, we've made an overhaul to our benefits. You need to go in, see what they are, and see what applies to you and what doesn't. If you don't do that, we could be reducing your coverage or giving you no coverage at all. Because a lot of times when companies make drastic medical changes, there isn't a one-to-one correlation they can make with your current enrollment. So you'll need to go in and make an active decision. Passive enrollment, on the other hand, you don't need to make a decision other than your FSA and your HSA, which we mentioned, does not roll over. But all of your other coverages will just roll over nicely and seamlessly, and you'll go into the next year with those coverages. But I can't impress upon you enough, you do not want to phone it in on your benefits. This is something that you want to make an active decision. You want to make the changes you need. You want to add the baby when you have the baby. You want to drop the kid that is gotten a full-time job out your house and they have their own benefits. You want to do all the things that you need to do and take advantage of all the benefits. There might be new perks, there might be new wellness benefits you could take advantage of. There might be new decision support tools that the company has invested in to help you make the best decision. So we don't care in this community which one of these we fall into, because we're always going to show up, evaluate, and make an active decision to enhance our lives, because it is our decision. It is upon us to gather the information we need to make the appropriate decision. Any questions about active or passive enrollments?
Hey, Leslie.
Leslie. Oh, no, you go ahead, Tiana. I'm sorry.
I'm just curious. Will the company specify if it's active or passive enrollment?
They have to. They can't drop they'll specify if it's active. If they don't say, get in there, do something, typically they'll let you know, they'll say either way, hey, everything will be intact, no worries, no foul, your coverage is gonna stay, or it'll show you a mapping. Like if you're here, this is your coverage for next year. Sometimes that'll say coverage or no coverage, or coverage in like the lowest coverage option that you can have. So they'll typically communicate. Companies spend a lot of money communicating to their employee base so that they can ward off surprises, not knowing, and educating them on what benefits they have available to them. Great question, Tiana.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. So benefit secrets. I have 2 secrets to share, and it actually goes into one of these 2 most underutilized benefits. So let me give you the first trick. EAP utilization. So for my company, I'm going to use my company as an example. We have our EAP set up for counseling. We have 5 free sessions per occurrence. So that sounded like on the surface, all I have is 5 counseling sessions all year. But be careful, the language said per occurrence. So I'm married, as I shared. I called the EAP program and said, hey, I need marriage counseling. So I got a code to take to my provider for 5 sessions. Well, we got in there, Stuff got crazy. Now, I need counseling, individual counseling. That now is another set of 5 because that is a different occurrence. Then later on, I said, you know what? My husband needs counseling. That's another set of 5. So now I have 15 counseling sessions paid for by the company. And typically your counselor, they don't really care why they got the code. So in that instance, you can use their same counselor, go in whatever increments. They're just needing that code so they can get paid for those sessions. So a little trick, utilize your EAP and get your mental health in order. Any questions about that particular trick? All right.
I have one, Leslie.
Yeah.
So I understand that it was marriage counseling, you had individual counseling, your husband had individual counseling.
Mhm.
Is there a way individually to get more than 5 sessions? So say maybe you had death in the family and you needed some grief counseling,
Mhm.
and maybe you had another life event, several months later.
Yep.
Does that work that way too?
It does. So let's say I had personal counseling, then I had some things going on with my child and I needed parenting counseling. Like that's still me,
Right.
but that's a different occurrence.
Love that. Okay.
Yes. So you want to make sure you're understanding the verbiage in your program. Everybody's program is not set up this way. Some know the trick and say, oh, you get 3 annually. In that case, 3 annually is just going to be 3 annually. But in this situation where it does say occurrence and it lists out different occurrences, it's kind of giving you a list of things you can choose from, and just make sure you got some space and time in between all those. But yes, Janai, you could absolutely do that. Any other questions before I move to the hospital indemnity secret? Okay. Hospital indemnity. So remember we talked about if you know you're gonna have a baby if you're gonna have a baby in the hospital, you should enroll in a hospital indemnity program. But you should, at open enrollment, you should only enroll for employee only. So only cover yourself, okay? Then when you have the baby, remember birth is a qualified life event. Birth is the only qualified life event that's effective on the day of the birth. So what you're then gonna do, you have hospital indemnity. It says it pays you $3,000 out of pocket and pays you $1,000 per day admission in the hospital, okay? Now you have said baby, you enroll with an effective date of the baby, a baby's birth, and then you change your coverage to you plus child. So now you'll get paid out for you and the baby for the hospital stay, because both you and the baby are admitted and both you and the baby are staying multiple days. So instead of thinking, oh, let me do you plus children ahead of time, if you have other children, you can do that. But just for that instance, that's a way you can kind of have like a little cheat code. You just pay for yourself, then you add the child, and you're really making money if that baby's born in like November, December, because then you just drop that coverage going into the following year if you know you don't have any hospital and then hospital plans. But I keep it, but that's a cheat code. That's a trick, but they don't want you to know that because now they're paying you double for that coverage. But that is one of the best kept secrets. I've done it 3 times. I have 3 children. So this is a tried and true secret.
Leslie, I have a question. So first of all, I never heard of that. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
For those of us who may be having a planned surgery,
Mhm.
So is there anything else? Like, for example, I had a hysterectomy, I think 3 years ago.
Right.
Is there anything else that we can do if we know that we're planning to have something? That way we know that we're maximizing our benefits?
Yes. So hospital indemnity still will fall into that bucket, that scenario you just mentioned, because you still would be admitted. You want to make sure whatever procedure you have is not an outpatient procedure, because that is not a hospital admission or overnight stay. That's just kind of you in there and then you come home. You can make sure you get hospital indemnity in that case. You also want to make sure what your medical coverage level is. So this is the time you want to see if the doctor that you want in or out of network, any medicines you might need for recovery, what that looks like. This is when you want to see, do I want to go to the person that I want for this procedure, or am I okay with going with a in-network HMO type arrangement that you have a smaller pool of people to choose from? So yes, planning for a procedure or having particular services provided to you are absolutely things you want to make sure you look at what is covered, and then you might need to up your program to account for that. Does that answer your question, Janai? It sounded like yes. Tiana, what you think?
I think that's a yes. Yeah.
I think that's a yes. We're gonna go with it.
We have Lamish in the chat asks, is hospital indemnity listed as something else? I know we have short-term and long-term, and I have them both because it's so cheap.
Okay, so short-term and long-term are disability programs. Those are programs that are going to cover your income in the event that you're disabled and can't go back to work, and it's outside the coverage that your company might pay. So that's going to give you that 40, 60%, depending upon your coverage level that you selected. That's disability. So not to be confused with hospital indemnity. Those are two different types of programs. But yes, you should get them. I'm glad you have them. You need them.
But is there another name for it?
It's not. It's called
No.
hospital indemnity. Mm-mm.
Do all companies offer those? Well, the major companies probably, but not everybody has to.
They
offer.
don't. No. So part of my job is to ensure or to get companies to include them in their benefits package. So you see the commercials, you could call and get it, but that's going to be at a higher rate. So we help employers see the benefit of adding that into their employee package. So not all companies offer the voluntary benefits.
And is there a resource if you are like getting coverage through the marketplace, but you want to add something like that? Is there like a direction or a company that's known for that?
So Aflac, you see them all over the place, but they're the
Right.
leader. Yeah, they're the leader in the supplemental medical space. Let me say that's the critical illness, hospital indemnity, and accident coverage. Hands down, I work with them as a carrier partner. We place them with group benefits as well. They are the leader in that space. There are others who have entered the space because they see the need for it. So you have your MetLives, you have your Voyas, but they're newer to the space, and their programs aren't going to be as robust. So that will be my recommendation, but you always want to make sure you review the cost for those coverages and what level you want to enroll into, because there's always options with that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Leslie, I appreciate what you're saying, because I never thought about having a proactive strategy with one of those type of policies. I thought you just got it because just in case, you get in a car accident or something crazy happens, versus saying, oh, wow, I'm planning to have this surgery.
Yes.
let me go ahead on and get this coverage because now I can maximize, because I know I have to have the surgery anyway.
Right.
I would have never in a million years thought about that.
Yeah, and I upped my HSA contributions too because all my children have umbilical hernias. So we actually did 2 of my children in the same year. I upped my HSA, upped my benefits, maxed out my out of pocket. I got everything. So that year, I had a procedure. My 2 boys had a procedure. I told my husband, listen, if you trying to do something, you need to go ahead and get it done. Because we have reached our out-of-pocket maximum and they are paying for everything 100% at this point. So yes, absolutely think about it. And I have small children. I have friends that have small children. They break bones. They go to the emergency room. I have a girlfriend that the other kid cut the other kid's finger with, and all of that. You're in the hospital for some of those things, and the accident insurance pays for accidents, broken bones, dislocations, a myriad of things. There's a list that they have of things they cover and what the payout is for them. Crutches, wheelchairs, all the things that will go into that accident. So yes, proactive approach. We are active thinkers. We are going into these programs with a mind of planfulness. How are we going to utilize these benefits to enhance our life and making sure we're getting all the bag? Because let me remind you, your salary is only about, let's say 70% of your benefits package. The rest is baked into your benefit offerings, from your medical all the way to your 401k, all the way to your financial coaching options, your wellness benefits. They're accounting all of that in your benefit. Your PTO, that's a benefit that you want to make sure you use. By the way, I'm gonna put a plug. You don't want to carry over PTO. You can't get life back. Use your PTO in the year in which you accrue it. Those are dollars. Think of your day. And you don't want to have PTO paid out to you if you leave a job, because now you're getting taxed on a day that you would have taken 100% time up. Quick little spiel, I know it's not the particular topic, but just a little note. Any other questions? Tiana, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, Ani asks, are sprained ankles considered an accident?
Depends on the program. It could be. You would want to make sure what's covered. So sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It could be. That is a benefit that could be paid out. It probably is going to be low because how many people sprain? They sprain them all the time. So these programs have to be underwritten. And when you underwrite a program, they're looking to see what their insurable risk is. They don't want to insure a cold, right? Because everybody get a cold, they'll be bleeding money, right? But they do want to cover those things that is life-changing or can require recovery that you can get paid out for.
Gotcha. And we did have a question. We polled the social media audience earlier this week.
Okay.
And someone asked, if I don't use all of the money in my HSA before I pass, can I transfer that to my children?
Yes, you will add a beneficiary to that's an investment account. So just like your bank account, you'll have someone listed upon death. Hopefully everybody has someone listed upon death for their bank accounts. But that is an account just like your own. It's yours. So you could go on to that. It's a site you go on to just like any other banking account. And you manage to see what the goings and comings are, and you absolutely can denote a beneficiary.
Tiana, I didn't know that either.
I got more jewels, Janai. What you got?
You're dropping them. You're dropping them for sure.
And this person had a follow-up question. I'm gonna tag them and put this on social media. They said, my HSA is now offering investing in stocks. Should I invest in it?
They will be invested for you. So remember earlier I mentioned when your HSA account exceeds that $1,000 amount, it's automatically being invested. Now you can go on and see, those are preset. That's not really something that's an active investment tool. You're not going in and like day trading or anything in this, but it is an interest-bearing account. It is going to be invested for you according to the company in which your company selected to house and manage your HSA account. So they invested and they don't even know it if their amount is over $1,000. Thank you, Tiana. Janai, you got any other questions?
Girl, I'm over here trying not to just whip out my whole list. I'm like, let me let Leslie get through the rest of her presentation.
Honestly, that we are. Those
Oh,
are
good.
things that we had to do. I think Tiana and Lauren had something fun they wanted to share with the group. But as far as content, I mean, those are the main things I wanted to cover.
Well, we're definitely going to have some fun. One thing that I did want to mention before we wrap up, and thank you so much, Leslie. I have learned so much. It's insane. I'm like, man, over here taking notes like crazy. Ani and I are like obsessed when it comes to benefits. So Antoinette, who was on the call a little while ago, she and I were talking earlier today, and she said something very powerful. She had a relative whose child died recently. And she had family members who were contacting her relative's job, trying to, let their employer know, trying to help her figure out what benefits that she has and all of that. And it just made me think about something that I think it's important for us who work, and you don't have to pass away, but if you were sick, does your family know who to contact at your employer as it relates to your benefits?
That is
like,
so great.
I was like, I had never really thought about that before. So ladies, I really want to make sure that you're very intentional because you want the person that you want to contact. A lot of times it's the wrong relative that's stepping up for us.
Absolutely.
So you want to make sure the right relative knows that they are the one and who to contact. Because again, you could just be sick. Maybe you had surgery. You're supposed to be in the hospital 48 hours and it turns out to be 10 days or something.
Yeah.
Who does your family contact at your job? So please make sure not only that you think about that, but that you do something about that.
Yes.
Second thing that I was thinking about, Leslie, as I was telling you the story about my son calling me 4 times, he's texted me since we've been on the call saying, Mom, I have one more question for you. But for those of us moms who we have these young adult children who are leaning on us, they a lot of times are coming to us for direction, but we're still trying to figure out our own stuff.
Yeah.
So that's something really to think about is we need to be empowered to, what do we tell our kids? Do we tell them, become BFFs with the benefits people? Because we want to make sure that our kids are straight because we know, that's a normal kind of fear or paranoia as a parent.
Yeah.
But, a lot of times they naturally are still coming to us.
Yeah. Doesn't
mean that we're equipped though. So moms, or if you have nieces or nephews, let's please make sure if they've recently graduated from school, this is their first or second job, please make sure that hey, you guys did what you need to do for open enrollment. Please make sure that you are encouraging the young people in your life to take this very, very seriously, because a lot of times they don't understand how important this really is. And this is so much more than health insurance. We've been talking a long time about a lot of things other than health insurance, because a lot of times they'll click that button and they'll think that they're done. That's not true. And a lot of times they're counting every penny. So they'll skip the short and long-term disability or some of the other things. They need full benefits.
Yeah.
So please make sure you are, like they say, phoning a friend here, making sure that they're in good shape.
Great stuff, Janai.
So let's have a little Fun.
Oh, we have 2 more questions in the chat first.
Okay.
Ooh.
We can wrap up our questions and then we can
Okay.
have some fun. So Antoinette asked, AD&D, what exactly is dismemberment?
It's what it sounds like, girl.
So limb cut off.
Yeah, it's a limb dismembered from your body. That's it. That's exactly what that is. So AD&D means accidental death and dismemberment. So that is what that means, unfortunately. And we need coverage for that. That's an unforeseen thing. Usually that's a rider on your life insurance policy. And some people add it as an additional coverage, but that typically rides with your life insurance policy. Thank you. That's a good question.
Okay, and then last question, Varisha asks, if you have a pre-existing illness and do not qualify for short-term disability, what would you recommend if one needs to go on FMLA?
But Leslie, but isn't that group? You don't have to take a physical. You don't have to take a physical for that, do you?
You don't. So for your group insurance, it should just be covered. You pay for it, you get it. There's no pre-existing. I've never heard of pre-existing condition for a short-term disability program. Let me say that. I don't want to say it's not, because if yours does, that will be new to me. But I've never heard of a pre-existing condition for short-term disability.
I was helping my mom with her benefits the other day, and it said for a short-term disability and long-term evidence of insurability may be required.
Yes, so that's different. Evidence of insurability are the questions they ask you before you enroll to see how much they're going to charge you. So that doesn't say you're not going to get it, but it could, depend upon what's going on, you could be denied coverage, but it's more so just making sure at what level you might be paying. So evidence of insurability, that when I think of that, that's more so like your life insurance or just making sure, are you an insurable risk? So those do sometimes have pre-existing clauses. So you can't say, I'm going to sign up for life insurance and like you're actively experiencing a life-altering situation. Unfortunately, like cancer, you become an uninsurable risk after that. So those are questions they're asking to assess their insurable risk.
Well, when I was going to apply for it, because I had it at the previous employer, it said if I had received any treatment over the last, I think like 30 or 60 days, whether I was taking a prescription for it or I'd been seen, that I wouldn't qualify. So that's why I was trying to get some additional information.
Yeah, I would encourage you to call that carrier to ask
Okay.
their specific question. I mean, you could, Janai knows these coverages can be 50 shades of benefits. Like one carrier can do something different than another carrier. So I don't want to lead you down the wrong path. So be empowered to call that 1-800 number that's at the bottom of the screen or your benefits package that you get to get that additional information.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
And then we have one more question. Lamish asks, dismemberment, does it cover mastectomy? I believe I'm saying it right. Since you would be losing a breast, just thought of a family member, this might help.
I've never been asked that before.
That's a good question,
That's
Lamish.
a good question.
It is.
But here's the thing. It's called accidental death and dismemberment.
Yeah.
So it has to be due to an accident.
Right.
So just the terminology lends itself to that not being covered. Okay. But again, feel empowered to call and ask your specific question. Yeah, but that's from my purview.
Are we ready for some fun?
I think we're ready for some fun, Lauren.
Let's do it, Lauren.
All right, beautiful. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, beautiful. Let's see. I'm gonna do a little giveaway here. Round and round, round and round. Who will she land on? TR John. Woo!
Congratulations, TR John.
Okay, you will be receiving a Target gift card from us to stay on track to reach your money goal. So be on the lookout for that.
Oh,
Woo!
yay. Well, that's fun. Janai, that was all I had
Well,
for our
lovely.
discussion today.
Well, no, I thank you, Leslie. I so appreciate your commitment and your time. And I'm really grateful for everybody who logged in this evening because we are in charge of ourselves. Again, this is not something that you just log on real quick, take 10 or 15 minutes and fill out some forms and keep it going. You have got to slow down. Schedule the time, reflect on your life, reflect on what's coming, and make sure that you and your family are good. And then the other thing that I need from all of you is I need you to phone a friend, a relative, a young person, someone you know who might not have their stuff quite together. Maybe you have 10 girlfriends you just want to send an email blast out to. We got to make sure that the people that we care about are taking this seriously. And if we all know somebody who's not insured, let's please encourage them to go to healthcare.gov. There's no reason for them to be uninsured right now. There's no reason. So let's make sure that we are our sisters and brothers keepers with this. It'll take a lot of stress off of us knowing that our loved ones are, have the appropriate health insurance. And Leslie, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so, so much. This was amazing. I mean, I'm over here like, whoo, got a couple more decisions to make myself.
Y'all hurry up. Don't miss open enrollment. You'll have an excuse.
Don't miss it. Thank you all again. Thank you all for joining us on the Thank Me Later community. Please let your family and friends know about us. Continue to engage with us. Tiana, can you be posted within the community?
Yes, so we can download this and post it tomorrow.
Okay.
It'll be the full video, so you guys can kind of skim through what parts you want to replay. And then the video that we shared at the beginning and the handout that Leslie provided with the terms that has been added to the community already. So you should see that if you log in.
Yeah. And also remember our handout for November has been within the community as of November 1st, just really to help guide you through the open enrollment process for the whole month. Please use it. And again, please share it. This is not something that we want you to hold close to your chest. We want you to make sure that all the people that you care about are good too. We care about them as well. Y'all have a good Wednesday night. And we thank y'all so, so much. Thank you again, Leslie. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. My pleasure. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night.
Good night.